everybody. We got a great interview going to happen today in just a few short minutes. But before we get started with our guest, Kristen Miller, I want to have a few brief comments about what NeoMasculinity Solutions actually is. NeoMasculinity Solutions is a global initiative to protect our families and loved ones from the threats and troubles that are being caused by unreliable information. It's that simple. We provide tools and curricula to reignite our human intuition, our critical thinking skills, logic and reason, and even common sense. We support both men and women to embrace their gender roles, not identities, their vintage gender roles. Now, NeoMasculinity Solutions is more than just a founder with a good idea. It's a group of dedicated professionals and true believers who are working behind the scenes to make this global initiative happen. And one of those professionals is with us today. I mentioned her name a couple minutes ago. Her name is Kristen Miller, and we're going to learn more about her, part of the team in this interview. So thank you for joining us. I think you're going to find out a lot about why we exist, but even more so, you're going to find out about some of the incredible people that we have working behind the scenes to make it happen. So welcome, Kristen. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, John. It's a pleasure.
This is going to be painless, I think, as much as it can be. I'm not going to put you on the spot, and even if I do, it's for good reason.
Yeah.
You and I met several years ago through the social media platform LinkedIn. And I'm not sure, it was a convergence. We were working on a podcast show, Women's Expressions on Leadership, Liberty, and Learning. And you came to us in that process, and it was a great interview. And then we reconnoitered several years later on this project. But before we get into this project, let the listeners know who you are as a person and how you made it to this place in time.
Sure. I think where we definitely aligned in the biggest, juiciest, most beautiful way is that we're passionate about humanity. We're passionate about people the world over. This is not just an American thing. I'm South African. Serious cross-cultural acuity here because I've lived and worked on 4 continents. So when you introduced me to NeoMasculinity Solutions as a global, I almost want to say a remasculinization project, but as Paladins for Humanity, that already got me. And then the more we started working together on it from, I think it was earlier anyway, last year in 2024, the more passionate I became about joining the cause and fighting for the movement. Because at the end of the day, what we're standing up for is love and humankind. We want us, I think one of our shared values for sure is that we share the desire to see humanity flourish, not just survive. And we understand that if we just keep repeating history, then, progress is not guaranteed. Like, we're here to learn from our mistakes. And like you, I'm just passionate about improving the overall quality of life for every human being who crosses our paths here.
That's great. And one of the things about Kristen, she may not say it, but she has an acute, to the point of being very acute, attention to detail. And anything that we do in our lives requires an attention to detail if we're ever going to be successful. And that's one thing that I've admired about you, Kristen, early on, is just, to the point of, wow, she is on top of it. And that's good stuff. Let me ask you this. Tell the audience, let us know, humanity, yeah, we get it. We love humanity. We love kindness. Tell us, what are 3 of your primary core values, apart from that humanity aspect and attention to detail, which we mentioned, but tell us 3 of your core values that drives Kristen Miller.
Number one is freedom. My top core value is freedom. And I think most of us resonate with it on some scale. Maybe it's not their number one. So freedom to me creates peace of mind as well. And that ties in beautifully with what we do here at NeoMasculinity Solutions, right? Peace of mind is the level of freedom that very few seem to reach. And that will come with critical thinking and keeping the mind clear and following your intuitive guidance, et cetera, et cetera. So freedom's my number one. Number two is growth. I'll put my hand up. I'm a personal growth junkie. I know not everyone is. I have fun conversations with friends about this, but I believe that whenever we think we've attained something or reached a certain level, got more to go. So I like to joke and say that the more I learn about anything, the more I realize how little I actually know of anything. Like I don't believe success is a destination. I believe we have milestones, sure, that we can reach and attain along a path or a journey for a particular outcome or objective. But I believe that we're constantly learning, and I believe that we learn from everyone we meet. Everyone can teach someone another thing about life, love, leadership, anything. My third value is actually spirituality, believe it or not. I've always called myself a woman of faith, which shocks a lot of people because I'm not necessarily religious. And I differentiate and discern, should I say, between the two, but always have been a woman of faith. I used to be a youth group leader, which a lot of people don't know about me in high school. So yes, I'm one of those few that read the Bible cover to cover and learned it. But as I grew older, I started, especially based on the high school I went to, right? So that's another story. But I did learn to discern. And I think that's another one of our faculties or capacities that all of us can fine tune as we grow older, gain more wisdom through real life. I learned to discern between the two. I think any one of us can walk in faith, that bridge, this invisible bridge between the seen and the unseen. Part of it is following our intuitive guidance, those little nudges and whispers. But spiritual growth to me is big. So it aligns with personal growth, but I separate the two. So personal growth may be like the Brain Freeze mini course, which I completed 2 weekends ago. That is amazing. Just so you know, everyone listening, like I highly recommend it. Spiritual growth is when I actually work with spiritual teachers and intuitives who just help me improve my consciousness at higher levels of expansion in order to receive more. Here's my top
Awesome.
three.
So let me see if I get this straight. Okay, so we have Kristen Miller, freedom lover, Kristen Miller, personal growth junkie, Kristen Miller, spirit-centered human being, right? And one thing so those three things are great core values to have. I mean, my gosh, if everybody had those as foundational core values, we wouldn't even have any issues, would we? Everybody would be working together for a solution. And when we talk about solutions, one thing about Kristen, which she may not tell you, but you can probably infer it, is she is always looking for solutions. So dot solutions fits your mantra pretty darn well. And what I've seen you do, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I've seen you take on some of the biggest digital challenges and get in the trenches and work on them to make sure that you can figure out how it operates and how you can make it work in real time. So so thank you for that. So you're raised in South Africa. You have these core value beliefs, and now you're in America. We're going to get to neo-masculinity in a second, but now you're in America. What's your primary reason for being here in America?
I will stand on a hill for this. I believe that the American dream is real, as real today as it was how many decades ago. I believe it's the land of opportunity for those who want something more for their lives. I really do. I really, really do. I also think that it's one of the most magnificently beautiful countries from a landscape and geography perspective. Like it really is bigger and better here. And I know many people will shoot me for this, especially my homemakes in South Africa, which is also a beautiful country, right? But if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, despite what the news may portray around there, and we all know what's happening right now in America, but I think it's the greatest country to live in. And I think that is why so many people keep wanting to come here, and they can moan about it all they want, but yet they still want to live here. There's a reason. It's that great.
Well, thank you for that. So, all right. So then so then that plays out the freedom core value. So, we're all about freedom here in America, and really there's a lot of people about freedom. Sometimes they just don't get to experience it. So I know that, and we're going to talk about one of your personal dreams now because people need to know what's behind the scenes, and we've actually mentioned it on the website. One of your goals is to have a retreat center. Tell us a little bit about that dream and why that's important to you.
Good question. I've always loved land. So I'm talking like 20 acres of land. Seasoned old property investor here. Love investing, love real estate. And it started when I first started looking at land in South Africa, which literally to date, despite the exchange rate, still costs about 3 to 5 times more, depending on the facilities and zoning that you may want for your piece of land. Sort of for ease of purposes, let's just call it 20 acres, say. But my dream has always been to have that because I'm one of those oddly mixed blends of humans that I'm as passionate about animal advocacy as I am for humans, for helping humans. So in 2018, I sat back that January, I still remember the month, and I allowed myself to dream big and allow whatever may come. Like, how would my dream life look? And it would be living on and owning your own land that we can convert into what I call a sanctuary, because I want a sanctuary for people. I am big into dog rescue and rehabilitation, and I've always been an equestrian. So there's the third aspect. So it's not like I want to open up a sanctuary just for rescue horses alone. I want to be able to integrate and offer experiential learning opportunities, real time, real world, real connection. Animals don't lie. You can't make it up. They're unpredictable. You don't even know what they're going to do on any given day, right? But for the rehab of race horses in particular. So I'm a thoroughbred fan. Out of all the breeds of horses in the world, thoroughbreds are my favorite. I've always, since I was 11 years old, I have literally reschooled ex-race horses. Then it brings us into the humanity aspect of it. We get to go through reconditioning if we so choose, to learn, unlearn, and then relearn new ways of being that creates that sense of inner peace and joy and fulfillment and love that we seek as humans in the world. So then I use the dogs and the horses as, I don't want to say, not tools, healing modalities that contribute to the client's experience and the guest experience on the land. So that's why I want what we call a retreat center, sanctuary, and R&R facility where we can run workshops, planned in advance. We can run 7-day retreats that's already earmarked and benefit the environment, which I'm passionate about, like our earth, Mother Nature, the animals, I'm canine and equine in particular, and then humans all in one.
That's great. So we're basically talking about a retreat center, a sanctuary, if you will, for human beings to integrate with equine and canine, and there's part of your self-growth and self-improvement and humanity and healing mantras that encapsulate your mindset. So that's awesome. And I know that we're going to get there. I know that you're going to get there, and it's going to be fun for me to be part of that journey with you. So let's shift gears real quick. So why NeoMasculinity.solutions? What was it about our conversations that made you become wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, is what we say here in the States, about what it is that we're doing? What struck you?
Well, number one is leadership. Leadership is key, and I know that's one of our new content pillars, if you would. But it's definitely John T. Protek, the man himself. I think, and I've experienced, many people call themselves visionary leaders, but fail to stand up to the par, to the standard, if you would. So John Protek definitely, and I'm speaking of you as if you're in the third party here, but you definitely are one of those leaders that your energy, your charisma, your passion, your intuition, your everything. It just, that's why you are where you are today, I believe. A remarkable leader that people want to follow. So leadership in a company, NeoMasculinity Solutions is the organization, needs a good leader. And with a good leader at the helm, I believe almost anything is possible. In fact, anything is possible, right? So then point two to that would be, I've seen and witnessed, as I think we all have lately, the downfall or almost regression of certain human capacities thanks to the online world. So information threats, it's so real. If I had kids on cell phones, I may well end up being a helicopter mom or something. Like, the information threats hit our homes every single day. And one only has to research the statistics of teen suicide. And I'm not just referring to cyberbullying. I think the advent of social media in particular, when used incorrectly. So if we go back to a premise, basically, that any tool is as powerful for us as we make it, whether that's AI tools or whatever. Now back to social media, I think we've noticed a far more rapid decline in developmental self-esteem, sense of self-worth. I think the comparisonitis bug has just, like a fungus, it's just spread. And I believe that part of what we offer as NeoMasculinity Solutions has very viable, practical, tangible tools to help everyone, from family units as well. And that's where I'm very passionate. Just help the entire family learn to master critical thinking, an old age skill, sure, but one that's needed more today, I believe, than ever before. And so that everyone can learn to discern between what's, fact versus fiction. I think I read a stat not too long ago that 62% of the American public gets their top news sources social media. And you and I both know, and anyone listening, you're listening to this, I think we can all agree that just because something's shared on Facebook doesn't make it truth. Finding truth and finding clarity of mind so that we can think clearer, which means we behave better and can make better decisions and faster decisions, is a skill that we need regardless of a social media world or not. But I think because of social media and the online information threats that face us every day, right at home, if you go to iPad or whatever smartphone device, it's there and kids find it. They'll find it, like, depending on whatever parameters you set and lead as a father or mother in the family unit. So I'm really passionate about that. On the other side, there's obviously the educational component, like I'm personal growth junkie, so I study a lot online through whether that's Yale or Cornell University for the psychology of emotions, et cetera, et cetera. I'm constantly learning. I guess a core belief of mine is knowledge isn't, it's an old saying, knowledge alone isn't power, only applied knowledge is. Same thing with critical thinking, discernment, to understand influence and what influences us every day, whether we're aware of it or not. That can save humanity. It can help us get into the thriveability phase again, so that we're actually benefiting everyone, because there's good news and good stuff happening on social media too. I use it for that. So, it's just about helping, especially young, underdeveloped minds, learn to become sentinels of information for themselves. What is to guard access to our minds and what we allow into our personal space and world, because it directly influences our beliefs, our paradigms, and how we go out about being in this world.
Well, that's, great reasons to come on board, and again, a lot to unpack there. We could be here for a long time, but thank you for the personal accolade and affirmation, and myself, like I'm always looking to self-improve too. And everybody has their moments, but unless we remain open-minded with a desire to be better than we are yesterday, then we won't get anywhere. So, one thing that I like that you pointed out, if you didn't catch it, and I'm sure a lot of you did, is if you're getting your news off of a social media platform, you might want to think again, and you might want to visit our website and get some of the tools, because what I've seen with the tools that we've developed as a team, that when you start to actually use them, you can take one of those social media posts and almost immediately see the lie or the fantasy or the untruth. And so that's why these tools are important. And people might say, well, well, so what? Well, once you know that something's being told to you that's not true, then you know that you need to stay away from that. And that's something that maybe your kids and loved ones don't need to listen to. But anyway, so you're on board. We've been working with these tools, and I got to tell the audience that, and I'll call you out now that this woman is who she says she is. She is a self-growth junkie with a meticulous attention to detail, and the tools that she's been able to build for this company and this initiative. You may not see it because a lot of it's behind the scenes, but I see the amount of work and the amount of heart and soul that you put into the project. So kudos to you, and that's how that works, right? Um, Thank you for that. So a few more questions. So in a perfect world, if it's the world according, if it's the book of Kristen, right, in this manuscript, what would a perfect world look like for you?
think peace, and I know I understand like duality and that. So I have a higher level of understanding in terms of there cannot be, you know, positive without pain, up or down. I get that there is contrast that exists for all of us from which to learn and grow and improve so that we can respond better to events and experiences and things that happen. Like you said, nobody's perfect. This is not what personal growth is about. But I believe that we can all become better at handling situations or people or things in better ways once we learn more and then apply that knowledge. So, a perfect world to me is one in which nobody is bombarded. I know from having asked the question with a lot of people, just different people, clients and otherwise, that like the first thing they do is check their phone in the mornings. I would love to see more people just sit outside or wherever they are. If the weather's awful, obviously you wouldn't go outside, and just connect with yourself and spirit first and foremost every day. And I learned that the hard way. I remember when Blackberries first came out, and I was so excited. And I quickly realized that the first thing I did every morning was look at the phone, check emails, blah, 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 this 24/7 being on thing. No, it's unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. So I stopped myself from doing it. I said, right, every morning I wake up, there's got to be a power hour. It doesn't matter what you choose to do. It will be different for different people. When I was severely injured, similar to your situation, John, I could not do what I would normally do first thing in the morning because running was just not an option. But there are many other tools or coping mechanisms that we can use, because I think to create that sense of peace and clarity and intentional purpose for the day ahead from a grounded place requires connecting with self, which means with spirit or source or God. Use language that best suits you, the listener, and do it. Just reconnect there, and then choose to meet the day and greet the day from a grounded place, however that looks for you. For some people, it is exercise straight away. I used to be a gym junkie, so I know. By 5 a.m., I was at my first class for the morning in the gym. Then I would go to work when I was an employee years ago, back at the old job when we had a physical office that I used to drive to. It shifted when I started working from home to journaling, lighting an incense, depending on where we were. I love being outdoors. Personally, I love hearing the birds chirp every sunrise. So I choose to sit on my deck right now, but if the weather's really freezing, it'll look a bit different, right? That, I believe, would automatically create more inner peace. Because once we attain a certain level of inner peace, not saying it can always be improved, I'm sure, I'm not asking or expecting anyone to become monks. I know I'm no saint. So, everything else, it shifts your perception and it shifts your perspective on the events that may occur for the rest of the day. So, peace, which requires love, a sense of self.
They do kind of go hand in hand. You can't have peace without love.
Yeah.
Definitely can't have hate. So we're gonna try. I've never done this with anybody before because I've never really done a personal interview like this. Somebody that works together with me. It's always been somebody else. But this is gonna be kind of rapid fire. And then we're gonna get a piece of your wisdom at the end of this. But favorite movie,
The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith.
favorite color,
Lately it's purple, which is odd.
That's
Purple.
like his royalty. Favorite song and artist.
Oh, that's a tough one. I have many. Jewel Hands. Jewel the artist and the song called Hands.
Okay. Favorite car.
Ah, believe it or not, it's a Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Can't wait to have one of those babies, but I'll wait
It's,
till I pick
I'm
it.
sure you're going to have it. Uh, favorite time of the year.
Oh, I'm a spring and summer lover.
Okay. If you could, and I'm sure you might have heard variations of this, but if you could have 1 hour with a human being, whether they're passed away or still alive, who would it be and what would you talk about?
Wow, that's a tough one. I, and I'm going to follow my intuition here, Denzel Washington. I love the man not only as an artist, but I love how he kept his core throughout all the years from what I've seen. I don't know him personally, but I'm calling him out. So he has long been someone I've earmarked alongside Oprah Winfrey, of course, but my answer for now is Denzel Washington. I love his value, the value he places or seems to place on family connection. I did watch an interview not too long ago of him. It was just an excerpt around a round table where someone was talking about, the movie this, the movie that, and I think Denzel perfectly put it into place. He said, yeah, but understand that's art. That is the job. That is what we create for entertainment purposes. He said, real life is having a son that doesn't come home from the military one day because he was KIA. Real life is having children or teens that, become addicted to drugs or alcohol or something like that. Like he gave real hard hitting, real life situations that I think more people face in the world that aren't made famous because one is a public figure. And I love that he could speak about both with such wisdom and clarity. Denzel Washington.
Nice. How about your favorite book?
Oh, so many.
Just one. Pick one, Kristen.
Gosh, Ayn Rand. What was her first book before the Architect?
The
Gosh,
Fountainhead.
The Fountainhead. That's it. Yeah, yeah. I
That's a
love
good
that.
book.
I can't
Yeah.
believe I forgot the title there. That was a powerful book for me, anyway. And it made me understand conscious the consciousness that exists in capitalism. And I would say not what everyone deems capitalism to be. Yeah.
I get that. So before we close off here, is there anything that we haven't really talked about? I know it's been a short 30 minutes, but is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like the listeners and the audience to know about you?
Oh, about me. Um, just it sounds it's easier said than done, I think. But be love if you can. Like I get asked a lot of times, but why aren't you with your forever partner? As if they're to seek love all the time. And all I can say with love is just to remind everyone that we are love. So my answer to that question is I am love already. When you act in, live in, float in, and expand in love, then that's the frequency. That's the energy that you're already portraying, whether it's to the kids, pets, partners, businesses, any other vehicles you want to work through, because you're the vessel, right? So be a vessel of love for everyone. Be a Paladin, stand with us as Paladins for humanity. Yeah, that's what I would say. Love is the key.
Love is the answer. I think there's a song or something, but at least one. How can people get in touch with you, whether it's by private means or through NeoMasculinity? What would be your email address and how can they reach you?
They can reach me through NeoMasculinity Solutions. Absolutely. I love supporting our team here. I think it's a phenomenal team. I think the tools that we're developing and the Sentinel Roundtable is exciting. So email the Oracle at neomasculinity.solution. And I will get the emails and respond to anyone who wants to reach out. And from a personal note, I also highly recommend the Brain Freeze mini. So mini course meaning It's short and it's only 3 intense focus sessions or study sessions as we designed it and developed it together. But it is big value. And I say that with passion. Someone who personally completed it. And when I was doing the self-assessment questions at the end of each session, wow, I had to go back. And then I was reminded again how beautiful it is to be a human being, and that to know and not do is not to know. So we all need reminders and refreshers on stuff that we think we know and we may take for granted. But when you go through the Brain Freeze mini course, which is on https, what is it, www.neomasculinity.solutions/brain freeze, all one word. It is fun, it's digestible, it's got such big value. I had to press pause personally and listen and really take stuff in and take notes. And it's put in such a practical way for today's world, especially the online world, like which our kids face every day. Like I would be one of those moms that would make it a family thing. Like once a week, we're just going to run through this, even if we just do one session a week, say we sit together, dedicated family time. We go through the questions together. We become more self-aware. I think it was Eckhart Tolle. I think he said awareness is the greatest agent of change. I think awareness begets any change we wish to seek in our lives and in our experiences. So brain freeze, neomasculinity.solutions/brain freeze. I highly recommend it to anyone watching this. Literally, it will pay you dividends for life, for life.
Thank you for that. So you can reach Kristen at the Oracle at neomasculinity.solutions if you have to ask her any questions or just for general information. So let's draw upon your feminine nature for a second here. What would be your advice or your little bit of piece of wisdom that you can offer to parents these days who are raising children in a chaotic, confusing digital world? What would be your advice to those parents? But also, I know you don't have any children of your own, but if you did, what would be your goal with raising them?
For one, I'd definitely be raising critical thinkers. Like I'm seeing it with friends who are raising their own little ones up to 11 years old already. So between 9 and 11, they're already introducing concepts like critical thinking. And to me, years ago, it was just some academic term. It felt very far away. Like, yeah, I think I know what it is. You kind of know what it is. You Google it. We already critically think. I tell you, but lately now, fast forward a decade or so, and all of a sudden we live in a different world. What was 10 years ago is no longer. What was 20 years ago definitely isn't any longer. So from a feminine perspective, and that is almost unfair to say for men, but naturally I'm a big nurturer. So I believe in cultivating and nurturing the soft skills, as one would say, like empathy. Self-awareness is key. I gotta keep going on that. Critical thinking, also strategic thinking, depending on the personal goals and ambitions of the individual, the kid. I am a godmother to 2 kids. I love kids. I especially love problem teens. A lot of people don't know that, hence I've done work with them with horses, equine connection or grounding to create sense of stability within. I believe that anything we see out there in the world, kids acting out like I did. I was a terrible teenager. Like I was one of the
No, not you.
I just hit a rebellious for 2 years. I was one of those awful daughters that I don't think anyone would want. But it's so I really get it and I understand. So from the feminine perspective, get to the root cause of whatever you feel is the acting out. So the law of cause and effect applies. What you're seeing is always the effect of something. So ask better questions. Another derivative of being able to critically think. The better the questions you ask of your children when you see that they're acting out in some way, the faster you'll get to the root cause, but also the greater the understanding in the relationship that I think you can develop and that rapport. You get to develop more meaningful conversations. You get to know your child better. I believe every parent knows, you can sense it. Even if you can't verbalize it yet, I believe you can sense when your child, if you're a good parent, like you would sense, oh, something's amiss, something's misaligned, something's off kilter. So communication is key, creating a space in which you're there to communicate, not judge. not reprimand, not blame, shame, anything. They already feel that. 99% of the time, I guarantee you, those kids are already feeling shame. They already know that what they're doing is wrong and it's looked down upon, frowned upon, whatever. So ask better questions, get to the root cause, and you'll soon find out. Allow them the space to feel safe, to respond and communicate with you. Yes, even if they shout and scream and throw tantrums and stuff, listen, take it in. I say a word, just be present. So presence is another pillar of power of mine that I believe in, but being present is key. That's from the feminine aspect. From the masculine aspect, and this happens often, I've got a lot of single mom friends, and I really have a big heart for single parents, male or female, actually, because man, I'm a sole breadwinner. I had multiple dependents, 6 adults, dogs, horses, the businesses, a lot. So I understand the pressure. So from if there is a 2-parent unit, family unit, like a mom and a dad, or same sex even, but someone somewhere is always playing a more masculine role and someone is always playing the more feminine role. So from the masculine side, everyone needs guidance, even if they don't ask for it. I think everyone enjoys receiving that. It feels good to feel like you have a clarity of purpose and a sense of direction, and you have that strong strategic support behind you. The providership, the art of providership, as I call it, I think is key from the masculine perspective. So dads out there, absolutely, it's part of that. An aspect of that is what creates the feeling of being safe. Speaking as a woman, I know, I can honestly say, and I'm a strong woman who's a lot in her masculine because I've had to be. But there is nothing like the feeling of safety, nothing. And as a woman, that's what we want. So you can translate the same to your kids too. And I think dads provide that. I think a lot of the problems and statistics show is that families without father figures in their lives actually end up with a lot more, let's just say, challenges in the family. Kids acting out, et cetera, et cetera. So we need both. We need the strength, the structures, the solidity, the guidance, that from the masculine perspective. And I think I had both, so I can speak from both, just as a kid who had both. So blessed, so blessed. But then from a feminine perspective, we also need that nurture space, the empathetic, the other softer skills, that presence that can pick up stuff without vocab. I think we need both. And I think that creates healthier family units, which then changes what happens in the world. Home is the first point, not schools. First home, then school is what raises our kids, right?
Absolutely. Some great points, very relevant in today's day and age. And I appreciate you sharing those. So what I'm hearing is, love, communicate, be free. And it takes work and it takes commitment, it takes desire. I wanted to thank the audience for listening in today, this interview of you, Kristen, and me, just having a discussion. I wanted to thank you for being open and honest and authentic and candid. Let's close up with, it's by no means the end of this. We have a lot of work to do, so don't get any crazy ideas. But close with your favorite quote. You don't have to explain it, just quote it and whose quote it was, and then we'll just go from there and get on with business and continue on this forward path.
Yeah. My favorite quote is on my fridge right now, and I picked it up on a postcard in the first time I was in Vietnam. And it is by Gandhi, and it says, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." Love it.
There you have it. Thank you, Kristen. I'll be talking and seeing you soon. Thank you for being here today. And thank you for your support of NeoMasculinity.solutions. And if you haven't visited the website, please go there. I think Kristen said the name. We'll share it here, but it's NeoMasculinity.solutions. And check out what we're doing. I think you'll be impressed. And if you're a parent that's struggling with children or whatever it is, please check it out. Tap into your intuition. Start critically thinking again, and be that gentle shaking that Kristen's talking about. Help us change the world. Thank you.